Hungry dogs run fast.
What is going on, everyone? Welcome into my dog's favorite podcast, live edition, the Dynasty Dogs, brought to you by the Fantasy Football Universe. I am your host for this evening, Michael Anthony. Ladies and gentlemen, the song Call Me Maybe by Carly Rae Jepsen has over 1 billion streams on Spotify. The man who accounts for 87% of that number, Rich McAteer. How are you tonight, Rich?
Buenos noches. How are you?
Yeah, man, you used to listen
in my
to that
mind,
song.
In my mind, I was going to say bonjour, but I don't know where that one came from. So,
Did Carly Rae Jepsen screw you up a little bit?
I think so. That was, yeah. I bet you were thinking of that all day.
I've been thinking about it for the past week or so, to be honest with you. I used to drive around in your 92 Camaro. Was that it? Your green one?
90,
or 95?
91.
Listening to Carly Rae Jepsen like a real douchebag that you were.
With the
Richard, first of all, we're live, right? Which is crazy to think about. And the fact that we can actually see comments from people, isn't that crazy? Because back in our old Riverside days, we couldn't see any of that. So, Jamie, how are you? How's it going? So, this is going to be brand new to us seeing comments. So, if you miss anything, we apologize.
It's like you've never spoken to a fucking person before. You're like, oh my goodness, look at this.
Look at this one. Look at that one. Anyway, tonight we are going to talk about all the free agency news that has happened around the NFL, what that means for our dynasty rosters, and then we are going to get into our top 12 dynasty running backs, finishing out our running back series. It might be a little spicy, might not be, who knows? That remains to be seen, but let's get right into the That Bites segment, which let me hit the media assets here and give you the creation that SC gave us. And that is our That Bites logo. It is our news and notes.
People can read, dude.
I can't, apparently.
Just whatever you're saying there, just say it in your head and just click it. Just click
it. Let's get into the brand new news. The brand new news of this evening that happened, maybe 2 hours ago, roughly? The Cooper Kupp signing to the Seattle Seahawks. 3 years, $45 million. Rich, let's start with your thoughts on that one. What do you think?
I think what I would do if I were Seattle is I would trade my quarterback, which is a better quarterback, and then I would trade my best wide receiver, the big outside wide receiver, and then the only wide receiver I have left does well, his best in the slot. I would go out and sign a guy who also does well in the slot. That's what I would do. What the fucking hell are they thinking, dude?
So I looked it up. JSN played 85% in the slot last year. Had an explosive season. Then they bring in a guy in Cooper Kupp, like you mentioned, who also does extremely well in the slot at 65% last year. And the older you get, usually the more they bring you in, right?
Yeah.
So I could imagine that number going up slightly from 65 to 70, 72. But I think JSN's a very capable outside receiver. It's not something.
I was going to say maybe they move him.
I could see them moving around both of them more and more movements, more motion, stuff like that. They're going to have to, because you can't. They're doing the opposite of what Pittsburgh did, right? Get two big body wide receivers who play the same way. They basically did that, but made the slot version of that for some reason. And then paying him $45 million is insane for me.
Yeah, that was it was a hefty contract. And a lot of teams now that are signing guys are guys that are, or teams that are, going to overpay. Teams like the Eagles aren't going to go out and make all these splashy moves because, number one, we don't have to. Two, we're not going to overpay guys. Like you've seen, the first thought I think of that was an overpay. I think of Javon Hargrave, which is a gross overpay. So teams are going out to overpay, and that was definitely one of them.
We have a question here from Jamie. Would you what come up? Would you sell Cup for a mid-third? Honestly, I'm out on Cooper Cup. I 100% agree with you. He is
Mm,
31 years old. I would be moving off for Cooper Cup as well.
I feel like it's
Hopefully he'll
kind of
get
now or
another.
never to kick him to the curb.
And especially now, I think people are going to look at him going to Seattle and maybe even see that as a value bump for him with the Kubiak system.
Mm,
It'll be very interesting to see, but I would take that mid third.
hmm
Maybe you can get an early third. If you can get like a 303, I would definitely jump on that
Shit.
because especially with the plethora of running backs that are coming out in this
hmm
class. And I did a mock draft not that long ago where I looked at the third round and the guys that we only did a 2-round mock. Let me preface it.
Okay.
When I looked at the third round of the guys that were still available, the Jalen Noels, the Damian Martinez's, stuff like that, that is what's going to get me excited, um, going forward. We have another question here from SC, real quick. Does Darnold have a top 15, I guess, season Seattle, knowing he has Cup, JSN, a bunch of slash marks, Char, and K9, which is Kenneth Walker. I don't know if I see that. We're actually
What
that
did he
leads us
finish
actually.
last? What did he finish last season at?
Good question. Let me pull that up real quick. He finished as that actually is going to lead us into our next conversation, which is the quarterback carousel. But since that question was asked, he finished as quarterback 9. But you got to remember, he had Justin Jefferson, he had Jordan Addison, he had TJ Hawkinson. You know,
hmm
you can't get any better than that in reality. Uh, then you go to a 31-year-old Cooper Cup and a very impressive 22-year-old JSN. I just don't see a top 15 season for Sam Darnold. So let's get into that next conversation, that quarterback carousel. Sam Darnold goes
Yeah.
to Seattle. Go ahead.
Yes, and SAS
Oh, he
another
did?
question on there. Would you trade 210 and Calvin Ridley for Mike Evans and Cooper Cup?
Yes.
Ooh, do. Yeah,
Yes.
I
I
mean,
know
I'm
we
in.
just said to move off of Cooper Cup, but I love anytime I can get Mike Evans in a deal to help me push me over the top to if in a
Yeah,
win now situation, I would take Mike Evans over. You could give Calvin Ridley and like the 210 and give me Mike Evans and I'd be completely happy with that. Because Mike Evans, is going to finish in the top 15. Calvin Ridley, does he get Cam Ward? Um does he stick with Will Levis? I have no idea,
and he's
but
also the only guy there, so
he's the
that's
only
always
guy there. But
intriguing.
Mike Evans has been that guy with
Yeah,
Baker
sure.
Mayfield for years now. So I have no issues with that. That's a great move if you can get that done. But going to that quarterback carousel, Sam Darnold, 3 years, $100 million. Justin Fields, 2 years, $40 million. And then Geno Smith was traded to the Las Vegas Raiders, not the Oakland Raiders, for a third-round pick, 92 overall. Rich, let's rank
What's
them.
I was
What
going
do
to
you
say?
think?
What's my favorite one?
Yeah, rank them
My
1
favorite
through
one
3.
by a mile, and it's not even close, is Justin Fields.
Mhm.
Not even going based off of. I'm going situation wise because money wise, I mean, also Justin Fields and Darnold would be at the like bottom because $100 million for him, Jesus Christ. But Justin Fields going back or going to New York and teaming back up with Garrett Wilson, I think finally gets Garrett Wilson going again. He went through the Drek stages with that succubus Aaron Rodgers who goes in and destroys franchises. Who, by the way, we're still waiting on to see which one he goes in with the gauntlet glove and snaps his finger and destroys. Um,
Hopefully, he
because
doesn't end up in Minnesota.
oh my god, well, I don't. You know what? I don't see them doing that. I don't know because it's like they signed all these guys to like help their team, and I just think Aaron Rodgers is such number one. He's a fucking prick. Two, I think he's washed, he's cooked, and he just destroys teams. I'm going off a tangent. Um, Justin Fields, I like that move the best. Then I would go Geno Smith, and I would go Sam Darnold.
Okay, that is actually the exact same way I have it. I think Geno is the cheapest one because of the age, right? And I
Sure.
don't think people love that situation in Oakland, but I love him back with Pete Carroll. He had the last season they were together, had a really nice season together. Brock Bowers, um, Chip Kelly. I'm very excited for that offense. I think Geno, if you can get him for an early third or like a 212 as a contending team, I would absolutely go out and smash that. If you could trade Sam Darnold and get Geno plus like a late third, early fourth, I would even do that as a competitor. I feel much more comfortable in the Geno Smith situation than I do with Sam Darnold. Now, when you mentioned Justin Fields, I'm very excited for that as well. People are freaking out about Garrett Wilson. I've been getting a lot of Garrett Wilson
Yeah, there's two
questions.
different questions on there too.
Yeah, we'll get to that one by SC in a second. I've been getting a lot of Garrett Wilson questions. What pick do you have him valued at? Mid first. But I'm very excited for the Justin Fields Garrett Wilson connection. First of all, goes back to their days in Ohio State, right? That was great. Now, people are worried about Garrett Wilson overall, but people forget how good Justin Fields looked with DJ Moore a couple years ago, right?
They're almost
I'm very excited for that tandem.
They're almost not seeing, the trees through the forest, so to speak. Garrett Wilson was stuck with Aaron Rodgers. That's what. That's
we give Rich
issue.
more than 5 minutes about talking about Aaron Rodgers. We're screwed.
He's like, "Hi, can I have all my friends come here? Can the Lizard come play here? Can we trade for Devontae Adams and everyone else that I played with 10 years ago in fucking Green Bay?" Yeah, like that's exactly what happened. So you know what, Garrett Wilson's going to have a hell of a bounce back season, in my opinion.
I think so too. To get to that SC question, is it time to sell high on Fields or is it worth the hold? Absolutely hold, right?
I'm holding.
In my opinion, the best time to sell Justin Fields, if you're going to do it, is when he starts hitting those 20-plus point games, right? And that's absolutely going to happen, in my opinion. And not only that, even if Justin Fields is doing well, that doesn't necessarily mean the Jets are going to be doing well. The Jets could absolutely have a horrible season, but Justin Fields has a good fantasy season. And if that starts to happen, I think you need to move off from Justin Fields immediately because that makes me think the Jets are going to go in another direction at quarterback. They're not doing well, but Fields is doing well fantasy doesn't mean Jets success, right?
So yeah, in that case, then you're holding on to him because his value is the highest now. So if you absolutely were set on getting rid of him, I would get rid of him now. But if you're willing to hold on to him and see how it goes, then you're definitely going to get lower value if the team doesn't pan out.
Right, exactly. I still have Wilson at wide receiver 12. We ain't getting that for a mid first. So Rich and I did our wide receiver episode a few weeks ago. This was obviously prior to the Justin Fields acquisition. I believe I had Wilson at wide receiver 15.
I don't have him like 12 either.
I was a little worried about what they would do for the Jets. Obviously now you're probably right. When I said mid first, I probably was thinking pre-Justin Fields, but you'd have to probably give up that early 1.4 to 1.3 range to get Justin Fields or to move off of him. But he's a hold for me no matter what. I'm very excited for the season that they could have. And go out and put the feelers out for Geno Smith, man. It doesn't feel sexy, but trust me, I think he's going to finish as a top 15 to 17 quarterback in that area. I would be very happy with that as my quarterback 2, quarterback 3 situation. I'd be very happy with that in super flex formats. T. Higgins or Garrett Wilson. One of the topics here that I didn't even yet.
Gun in my head, T. Higgins.
Yeah, for me,
it's the intrigue of where he's going to play next year. He's not playing in Cincinnati.
That is very.
Although they're saying, "Oh, we're trying to get they're working as best they can," or some shit I read to get both wide receivers. Yeah, I bet, dude. You've been doing that for fucking 3 years.
Yeah, if T. Higgins tweets out a picture of a hat, then we know it's bullshit because that's usually what he does. This one's tough. I believe that both these guys have top 10 upside fantasy wise. I think Garrett Wilson right now, I would take him over T just because I'm very excited about the Justin Fields acquisition. And there is no Jamar
but he
Chase.
Still has Joe Burrow, remember?
Yeah, but there's still no Jamar Chase over in New York either, right?
Mhm.
And I think both these guys are ballers and playmakers. So I don't think you're going to be wrong with either way you go. Just give me slightly younger and, more target volume in Cincinnati. I'll take Garrett Wilson. Next one, running backs getting paid. Let's talk a this or that when it comes to Aaron Jones versus Najee
Mm.
Harris. Aaron Jones, 2 years, $20 million, a nice payday for him. And then Najee Harris also gets a nice payday with the Los Angeles Chargers. 1 year, $9.25 million. I had to slow down before I say that because I always end up saying it worse than it should be. Which one of those two running backs do you have faith in more for the 2025 season?
Probably Aaron Jones. Aaron Jones has always kind of been a solid running back that you can plug in there. Sometimes a one, but most notably a two. So I'm going to go with Aaron Jones on it.
I'm going to go with Aaron Jones as well. We know Najee Harris is one of the most just consistent 1,000-yard running backs. Never hurt. You got to worry
Mhm.
about with Aaron Jones, but he doesn't give you that upside, that pass catching upside that Aaron Jones does. I think both these teams, let's be fair, probably bring in complementary pieces to that running back room. Uh,
Mhm.
I could see the Chargers getting like a second, third round guy. I could also see that for Minnesota too, is depending on what they do, uh, you know, do they bring in Aaron Rodgers? That's a former guy that Aaron Rodgers played with, and Aaron Jones. That'll be interesting to see. I think both these guys, I've seen people say, they aren't getting any offers more than a early third for Najee. I'm not moving off of him for that. You have to give me like a mid-second, early second for Najee Harris to get, because
Mm.
first of all, while I think they're going to bring somebody in, right, he's still in a great situation with a good offensive line, a run-first team with Harbaugh. You would have to give me something decent back to move off Najee. Now, Aaron Jones, obviously, he's going to be a guy who's going to be like a late second just because of the age. So that even helps to why I would take Jones there, because the value wise. But if you're moving off Najee, and to be honest, I think I would, you would have to give me that early to mid second type payment for him. What do you think about that?
I think that's kind of steep.
You
I
think
think
that's
he's
steep?
worth
He's
it. I
still
think
only
he's
what, 26,
yeah, but he's
27?
20. What is he? I'm not sure, but he's
I'll
still
pull that up
already
right here.
he's down to working on 1 year deals.
27.
27 worker. He's going on 1 year deals. Like you said, they're going to bring someone in Los Angeles. Plus, the Chargers have always had, they have Gus Edwards, they had Vidal, they have
Well, Gus
J.K.
is gone.
Dobbins. Yeah, I know, but what I'm saying is they have three guys that they just kind of split time with. So how much is he going to get the ball?
Mhm.
Especially, did they get rid of Dobbins?
No, he hasn't been signed anywhere yet. So
He's
he's
a
still
but he's a
available.
but he's a
He's a
free
free
agent. He's
agent.
not with it.
Mhm.
Okay, so right now the only two guys they have under contract are Vidal and Najee Harris.
I
Yeah,
think
I
they have
mean,
Haskins too.
do they?
Hassan Haskins, I
Um,
think, is who they have.
right.
But yeah,
I
I
think.
definitely think they're going to bring in somebody. God, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I think a three is, an early to mid three is probably where I would be comfortable doing. A two, I would rather hold the two.
Okay. Would you
Just
give
because,
up?
like we talk about all the time, this running back class is ridiculous. So
That's
you're going to
fair.
get a quality running back in the second round.
That's fair. That is fair. I agree with you on that. The next one we got here is the running back room of the Dallas Cowboys. Javonte Williams signed to the Dallas Cowboys a 1 year, $3 million. And I actually didn't write down the Miles Sanders contract. I should have wrote that down, but he also signed with the Dallas
Yeah,
Cowboys. Do you put any feelers out there for either one of these guys, or do you think this is kind of just like
no.
the stay away from room?
Yeah, I couldn't be more turned off by that, whole running back situation in Dallas. Um, Now, I mean, Javante, I know he was a guy that you've been high on for years, but the dude's always hurt. And when
Yeah.
he's not hurt, he's really doesn't
After
like blow me away.
the beginning of last
Um,
year, I was kind of out on him.
yeah.
He's just he's not consistent. He isn't healthy.
Mm-mm.
They brought in like 5 running backs last year in Denver, which made me think like they weren't comfortable with him either.
Mhm.
Now that he just got signed for a 1 year, $3 million deal, like I have
Yeah.
no interest in that whatsoever. I also have no interest in Miles Sanders for that matter.
Oh, hell no.
I've
I
seen
didn't have
people
interest in him
saying,
when he
look,
was here.
That's messed up. He was solid here.
I couldn't stand him, dude. I couldn't
Dance too
fucking
much.
stand him. Yeah, he had 1,000 yards east and west. 1,000 yard running back east and west.
Um, I saw people saying because of the deals with with Miles Sanders and with Javonte Williams that they don't think Dallas is going to invest in a running back. I
Mm-hmm.
completely disagree with that. There is no money tied into that room, right? And Jerry likes to bring in these high, he hasn't done it in a little while. I do know they were interested in Jonathan Brooks. I think Carolina ended up sniping them, so they couldn't get that. I feel Dallas is going to take a second round running back this year. And then that room becomes a little bit better, obviously, depending on who they take. I could see that the perfect landing spot for a Travion Henderson. Good pass catching back, good between the tackles back, elusive back. And then he would be a good complement to a Javonte Williams, who's just a grinder. But again, neither one of these guys really give me any hope or prayer.
Well, listen, you didn't even have to break it down that much. You got Jerry Jones. That's all you need to say. If Tech McMillan drops to wherever Dallas is drafted, I would think they're taking him. They don't draft with their brain, and they don't see that they just lost a Zach Martin. They'll say,
and
"Oh, well,
Dexter
look at
Lawrence
this."
now too.
Yeah, oh yeah, dude, which is fantastic. I love everything going on with Twitter. It's so fantastic, dude. That made my night. Maybe we'll get to it, dude. It's so funny, dude. I ain't winning there, but I always say this. I look at the Dallas Cowboys just as a lot like I look at the Oakland/Las Vegas Raiders when they have Mark Davis there. When you have a kind of older owner who just kind of takes too much control, they're going to always go after the Ferrari and not really use their brain. You don't have a general manager. We're not all blessed to have a Howie Roseman here to be kind of like a cerebral assassin. So I think I could see them being like, "Oh, Gentry's there. Let me take him."
That's still, I mean, that would be a good fantasy move for all of us if Gentry.
Oh yeah, absolutely. As he gets absolutely steamrolled with no offensive line.
Anyway, I got another running back situation here. Rico Dwaddle, a guy that you like, signed with Carolina. 1 year, $6.25 million deal. Finished as running back 23 last year. This is a good RB2 with Chuba Hubbard. What do you think about this deal? Does Dwaddle interest you at all?
Well, I mean, he did. He kind of. I was thoroughly convinced he was going back to Dallas and he was going to be the running back one. I kind of thought he cut out a nice role there for him, and then they again kind of went the way of Javonte Williams and Miles Sanders, who, in my opinion, Rico Dwaddle's better than both of them.
I thought 100% agree with that.
Right. I thought he would have kind of headed the room, and he ends up going to Carolina where it's going to be they drafted a rookie running back with Jonathan Brooks. I know he suffered an injury. I'm not sure what week.
Wait on that because we're going to talk about him in a second.
Okay.
When it comes to Jonathan.
And then Hubbard, they really just signed him to an extension. So he kind of the ball kind of the carries are kind of thin. It wouldn't really interest me now. He would have interested me if he stayed in Dallas, but no, not when he's in Carolina. No.
He kind of does interest me as the handcuff to Chuba Hubbard.
Yeah.
To be honest with you, if I can get him for like a third, I would absolutely do it. Just because he was a productive running back last year, right? Chuba Hubbard also was as well. But I also got to think Jonathan Brooks, and here we can get right into that. Jonathan Brooks, more likely than not, might not play next year, or if he does, won't play till late. Coming off a second ACL tear, I believe in the same leg, if I'm not mistaken. It is really tough. And for them to go out and get a guy and pay $6 million, which doesn't seem like a lot, but when you give it to, Najee Harris got $9 million, Javonte got $3 million. So in that $6 million range, that makes me think Dwaddle is going to have some sort of role in that offense. And it's an offense that still needs playmakers, right? I think Dwaddle could be that guy. It's a nice little complimentary piece. And it's not a bad thing to have these handcuffs on your roster. We talked about it, several weeks ago with Zach Charbonnet, break in case of emergency type guys.
Yeah.
And Rico Dwaddle, more likely than not, is going to give you a better chance to win than a possibility of a rookie because we know those third round rookie hit rates are not overly high. So Dwaddle could be a nice pick there. But my question to you is when it comes to Jonathan Brooks, I'm worried about his 2025 value, but let's talk about his dynasty value. He was a guy that was a late first round pick last year, early second round pick at the worst. Keep Trade Cut has him the same value as a 2025 or a late 2025 second and kind of the range of a Cam Scadaboo. Would you re-roll from Jonathan Brooks into one of the running backs from this class, or would you hold in hopes that Jonathan Brooks is a breakout candidate in 2026 or maybe even late 2025?
Dude, two ACL tears is hard to come back from. It's, I mean, at this point, what do I have to lose by holding on to him? I'd probably hold on to him just because I was at one point intrigued by him. He hasn't really sniffed the field, so I'd probably hold on to him.
Jamie says Jonathan Brooks is done. I also kind of feel that way too, to a certain extent. I think the contract they gave to Hubbard kind of gives me a little bit of an indication that they are worried
done before
about.
he even started, then, huh?
What's that? Yeah.
I
mean, when you have two ACL tears before you even really have a season in the NFL, that is super scary. I mentioned Cam Scadaboo, but a guy I'd be interested in who's been falling a little bit in rookie drafts that I've seen recently would be Devin Neal. Man, Devin Neal last year, because I thought he was going to come out last year, I had him higher ranked than Jonathan Brooks. If I could re-roll Jonathan Brooks into a Devin Neal every single fucking time, give me Devin Neal. Consistent.
I haven't watched much on him, so
consistent running back every single year he's been in college, can make you miss. Isn't going to be the fastest dude. That's what everybody's freaking out about now. Is that 4.640 or 4.55, whatever. Pre-draft. Yeah, that's kind of done now, to be honest with you, Jamie. In some mocks, first round pre-draft, that's kind of over with now. I've been seeing him going in the late second, mid to late second, sometimes even in the third. I'm very interested in Devin Neal going forward. And that's the kind of guy I would re-roll Jonathan Brooks into. Is there any rookie running backs that maybe kind of go in that area that you would re-roll to, or would you, like you said, you said you would hold. So I guess not really.
Maybe, I mean, gun to my head, maybe RJ Harvey.
That would be, third round, but yeah. That'd be an interesting one.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about wide receivers here, Rich. The wide receivers of destruction, a play on the Brothers of Destruction from WWE, Kane and The Undertaker. You got two big dudes taking over the Pittsburgh, the Pittsburgh wide receiver room in DK Metcalf and George Pickens. DK was traded with a 6th round pick to Pittsburgh for a 2nd round pick, 52 overall, and a 7th. Whose dynasty value changes the most in a positive or negative way?
George Pickens negatively.
Why is that?
Because DK Metcalf's better wide receiver than him. He's going to command the ball.
They're the same player.
No, they're not.
No matter, they are legitimately the same player. They're both big body wide receivers who can run decent routes, but they go up and make a play. They're both athletic. I was very interested.
One is the shit bag every time he doesn't get the ball. The other is just like a little bit.
Dude, they're the same player. They both crash out every time something goes wrong. I saw DK Metcalf German suplex Fred Warner. What is that?
Because he probably deserved it.
Oh, okay. You're just a George Pickens
It's
hater.
Unquantifiable.
Oh, I actually didn't know that. That can't be right. Bo Jackson is George Pickens' great uncle. Wow. That I actually didn't know that. That's actually super cool to know. I would have never known that.
That's cool, man.
I think both these guys take a value dip, though.
No, DK to the moon. There's a reason you signed him to a $150 million deal.
They did get.
There's a reason for that.
Who plays quarterback for them next year, though?
Probably me. They got nobody, dude.
They really don't have anybody.
Jackson Dart. You can write it in your copybook.
Well, your copybook right now. I started using my phone as my note taker, but Hank Aaron is Konami Vidal's great uncle. Jamie coming in here with like the most amount of awesome facts that I actually did not know. I love this. Jamie, you could give me all the facts that you want. I actually love that. But I do think this negatively values both their dynasty values until I know the quarterback situation. If the NFL draft comes around and they get a Jackson Dart, I will be a little bit more interested in both their situations.
Did you? I just looked this up. Did you know Uncle Ben is Spider-Man's uncle?
Poor Uncle Ben's died like 17 times in those Spider-Man movies. Pray for Uncle Ben. But and Jamie mentioned it here too. I've been seeing the rumors as well. George Pickens could get traded. I don't know if that happens.
I hope it ain't here.
Everybody, he's a George Pickens hater for absolutely no reason.
What do you mean? Dude, should I pull up the compilation of just him?
DK Metcalf has the same compilation. We just don't see it because it's Seattle. Or now it's Pittsburgh. But we don't.
I know. Pittsburgh was the big hub. I guess it's a big one of the main cities here. That's why we see it so much. No, Pittsburgh is like on the same level as Seattle in terms of like being a city that anyone.
Well, really we're talking about because we live in the city of Philadelphia. We're obviously going to see more Pittsburgh Steelers games than Seattle Seahawks games on a normal basis. Am I right or wrong on that one?
Maybe. Yeah, I don't watch CBS. So.
You don't watch CBS? Oh, you're Fox.
I hate CBS games so much.
Do you really?
I can't stand it. I don't know why. I can't do it. Tony Romo and is like yucking it up, dude. I'm like, leave me alone.
That is the Hobgoblin. I've seen that. I've seen that mentioned before in the Spider-Man theories. I've also seen. I don't know if you saw, but Sam Darnold looks like Foggy Nelson from Daredevil. Did you see that?
Yeah, that's kind of true.
He does look like Foggy Nelson.
A little bit.
But we're getting off topic here. I apologize to our actually 83 viewers. I never thought I'd see that number in my life. So I apologize for the off-topic discussion. But again, I am just very interested to see what the quarterback situation looks like in Pittsburgh, whether it is a Jackson Dart, whether it is a Russell Wilson who can throw the moon ball, who has familiarity, I can't say that word that well, with both DK Metcalf and George Pickens. Yeah, I had to slow that one down. Otherwise, I would really Yeah. So I am interested to see what they look like as a quarterback room next year for Pittsburgh. I was just very surprised as the trade overall for DK Metcalf with the situation that they currently have.
Well, you know what? He said he wanted to go to a warm climate contender. So, nothing like the warm climate of Pittsburgh to warm his heart. So, good for them.
Oh yeah, that was the big thing. He wanted a stable quarterback room, which they can't get much more unstable than Pittsburgh right now, and a warm climate, which I don't know if you guys are familiar. Pittsburgh is not overly warm, so we'll see what happens there. Speaking of warm climates and wide receivers, Davante Adams is signed to a 2-year, $46 million deal. Would you go out and try to acquire a Davante Adams for like an early second round?
If I'm a contender, I would. Yeah. I always try to go out and get Davante Adams. I tried all last season to get him. Even when he wasn't playing for those 4 weeks it was. I would try to go get him.
With Aaron Rodgers for that short period of time there.
Obviously,
it's Aaron Rodgers, but you can almost copy and paste the production with a guy like Matt Stafford, who is not afraid to let that thing rip in with the Rams. Are you worried about Puka at all though when it comes to Davante?
God, I hope not. God, I hope not. Kind of maybe.
Me and you are both big Puka guys.
Well, yeah, I got him on my team. So yeah, no, I don't want to be, but kind of maybe a little. Or it could go the other way, and it could open up the field for him.
So I go back and forth on this one, right? Most likely don't have an early second. No, you're 100% right, Jamie. But there are situations where teams do have early second round picks, or that contenders. I've had teams like that. I'm sure others have had teams like that. I would even, to be honest, I'd give up that 112 if you want to give me Davante in like a late third or something like that thrown in there. I would 100% do that. Or just take Davante for the one.
Jesus Christ!
You don't want the 112.
What? Oh! Are you saying you would trade the 112, or are you getting the 112?
I would trade the 112 for Devontae.
Oh no, I wouldn't.
No, not even if you're trying
No,
to win right this second.
no, nah, I'm not just because I got the 111, I wouldn't trade it for it. Just because, like I said, dude, I'm
But you
so
could get
intrigued by
something back on top of that.
this running back class, dude. I'm so intrigued by this running back class and the tight end class. If you're in a tight end premium, Cortland Loveland, I'm like at
Colson
111.
Loveland.
Colson
You
Loveland,
just can
Cortland Loveland.
Cortland
What's that?
Loveland.
Who's that
Cortland.
from?
That's the love child of Colson Loveland and Colston Cortland
No, who am I
something.
thinking? Who's the guy from? I'm thinking of the dude. I love. Is that the dude from Harry Potter? I don't know.
I
You
have
know what I'm
no
talking about
idea.
though. My tight
No.
end one, Loveland.
Oh, Colson Loveland. Yeah.
If you're in tight end premium, nah, dude, I'm not trading for Grandpa for a 112. Mid two, mid late two, I'm cool with.
You're not
Not
getting him for a late 205 maybe, but like at the end of the day, we're trying to win money. We're trying to win championships, trying to win belts, whatever you guys
I'm just
have.
trying to have fun.
True. That's also part of it too. But I am not worried about Puka Nakua. The only reason I'm worried about Puka is when it comes to injuries. And, Puka has familiarity with Matt Stafford, right? Matt Stafford loves targeting him, loves giving Puka the ball. Even, Puka has 10 red zone catches. Devontae Adams would be the red zone threat. I don't see Puka affected either. And not only that, Puka plays a lot in the inside too, or creates a lot in the middle of the field. And Devontae is more of a down the field type player as well. So I'm not overly concerned about him. Let's talk a little bit of tight ends. Or no, let's get into I have another wide receiver here. Passing the Bucks. Chris Godwin, 3 years, $66 million contract.
Passing the Bucks. You are so funny, dude. You're a little rascallion, you and your puns.
3 years, $66 million to stay in Tampa. Allegedly offered more money to go somewhere else.
So insane. Like, good for you for standing on your morals. Number one. Two, would you rather be in Florida or would you rather be in fucking New England? I know the answer to that.
Well, not only that, he's so like the way I thought about it was the dude already won a championship. So he could have chased the money, right? That he has a championship with Tom Brady on the Buccaneers. So he could have chased the money and nobody would have been mad at him for it. But he's still got a nice chunk of change from Tampa. He's got a solidified role as, the number 2 guy in Tampa Bay. But let's talk about what he looked like before he got injured in week 7, I believe it was. He had over 576 yards receiving, 5 TDs. That was good for wide receiver 2 at that point. 5 wide receiver 5 by points per game at 19.7. He was on an absolute tear.
I agree.
With Baker Mayfield.
No, I was going to say he was taking me to the promised land in a standard league redraft, and then that fateful day where his ankle came apart. Like,
Baker Mayfield kind of gave him a medicine ball on that one.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they really didn't even need to really continue throwing at that point. Because that game was pretty much over. Is it time to buy low on Jalen McMillan? SC asked, and that was actually going to be part of my next question when it comes to Godwin. McMillan really did step up towards the end of the season there when Godwin was out and they needed a number 2. I don't really know if I feel comfortable as McMillan as a number 2 wide receiver. As a number 3, yes. When you're talking about buying low, if you can get him for that, 305 to 308, maybe. I don't think you could get him for that because I do think there is a McMillan hive. I do think he's a very good football player. I just don't. He's never going to be on the level to me as like a Chris Godwin. It's going to be very interesting. I'm not somebody who's super interested in buying him right now. What do you think?
Yeah, no, I don't know. I mean, the inevitability of Mike Evans calling it a career at some point always has the intrigue, but
that's what,
just depending on the
Jamie
price,
says, Yeah, Jamie says, I don't think anyone is selling for less than a mid-second. Exactly what I'm saying. Like, he has a hive. And again, I don't think anybody's selling for what I would be willing to pay. Godwin just got a 3-year deal. That means he's tied to Tampa Bay for another 3 years.
Another 3 years,
That's the heir apparent to him. So again, I agree with you, Jamie. It's exactly what I just said. I wouldn't, be willing to pay that price right now on McMillan. Next one, your guy, ring chasing again, and I'm happy for him. DeAndre Hopkins, 1 year, $6 million deal with the Baltimore Ravens. To me, absolutely no fantasy value whatsoever in this situation. Last year,
I
he had a
started him a
really
couple games last year in redraft. I started him a couple games. He got me like 12 to 15. I mean, in a flex in a pinch. I needed him in a pinch, and he came through. But Baltimore is where once elite wide receivers go to die, and unfortunately I think that's what we're going to see.
Yeah, it looks like it might be over for him. He was wide receiver 48 last year, wide receiver 57 on a points per game basis at 9.2. He did have a few good blow up weeks, like you're mentioning, but he was in a good situation with Patrick Mahomes, right? Travis Kelce wasn't the same player. Hollywood Brown didn't come back till I believe it was the middle to the end of the season, and Xavier Worthy was a rookie. So if there was going to be a time for DeAndre Hopkins, in my opinion, to really kind of rekindle the flame a little bit, it would have been last year. And I'm not seeing it. Like you mentioned, Baltimore is kind of like the burial ground in the Lion King at the end for older wide receivers. I don't see him. I don't see him had one great week with 28 points, is what Jamie said. Yeah, he had like a couple like double-digit point games in there. Like I said, 9.2 average, not really getting it done.
I was in a pinch. I needed him. I got a question for you that's going to be off the wall that just reminded me because it's Baltimore. Devontae Walker, remember him last year?
Yeah, I miss him.
Are you keeping him or are you cutting him? Did I stump you?
Yeah, I think it's time. If he didn't really, he had that one game where he had a touchdown pass. I was like, oh shit, there it is. And then Rashad Bateman, I don't know. I don't think if you could keep him on your taxi squad for another year, maybe, unless you get somebody else that could take his spot. Tez Walker has been cut for my teams. Jamie says, yeah, I think it's pretty safe to cut him.
I've been wrestling with it in our league, and I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah, it depends on who you're going to put in your taxi squad for this year. Because I think in our league, if I'm not mistaken, you get 2 years of taxi service.
I think so.
Yeah, it is 2 years, if I'm not mistaken. So, I mean, it just really depends on what you want to do there. I wouldn't be against cutting him because he showed no flashes except for one game where he had a deep ball touchdown. It might even not have been deep ball. It was like 20, 30 yards. Still, nice play. Now Rich put Tez Walker on the trade block, I bet. That is exactly what he did.
No, I looked at my taxi squad. I put Edrin Cooper on there.
You're fucking weirdo.
People don't want linebackers, dude. Linebackers win championships. I lost
in IDP leagues. Yes, they do because they get the especially the high tackling players. Let's talk tight end here, Rich. Evan Ingram, the surprise cut last week that we talked about, signed with the Denver Broncos. 2 years, $23 million. Yeehaw or yee-naw?
I knew Richard? It. I've just fucking. Oh my god! No, you said it says giddy up or yee-naw. Dude, get the fuck out.
Yeah, I changed it. I changed it mid-sentence.
No, dude. Dude, good for him. I think he's he had such a resurgence of a career ever since leaving that Drek shithole of New York. I thought he was going to stay in Jacksonville. I really did. That's a really big shock to me. I thought, he was kind of Trevor Lawrence's guy. His one, they had a couple steady eddies with Brian Thomas and him, and they're just the Grim Reapers going through Jacksonville. But him landing in Denver with Bo Nix is pretty, substantial. He's the only tight end there worth anything.
Yeah, Greg Dulcich, likes to throw Lucas Kroll, Adam Troutman are the guys that they had on their roster last year.
Yeah, no.
I really like this spot for him. And the biggest talking point this offseason or the past couple seasons for Sean Payton is the Joker role, right? And to find the Joker role by Sean Payton is a guy or a running back or tight end that can exploit the middle of the field, right? Let's look at Evan Ingram the past 2 years when it comes to middle of the field. And this is not including any plays behind the line of scrimmage that he had. 890 total yards in 2023. 510 of those came in the middle of the field, right? 2024, injured season, so bear with me on that. 339 total yards. 163 of those were accounted for in the middle of the field. If there was anybody to be the Joker role, or if you want to even say the Jimmy Graham role, it is Evan Ingram. And I am super excited for the Evan Ingram, whether it's the Joker role or just plays wide receiver for that team, because nobody had over 600 yards on that team besides Cortland Sutton, who was a 1,000-yard receiver. I could see 6 touch. What did he have 2 years ago? Full yardage in TDs for Evan Ingram 2 years ago was 114 receptions, 963 yards, 4 touchdowns. I think the receptions and the targets and their yards are going to be there for him in Denver, especially with a guy like Bo Nix that can get the ball out quick. And a lot of those middle of the field targets that I talk about with Evan Ingram were 0 through 9 yards. So anything after past the line of scrimmage for him was his bread and butter. And a guy like Bo Nix, who feeds on that, who gets the ball out quick, like I mentioned, Evan Ingram could have a top 5 tight end fantasy finish this year. That could be my hot take for this year, that Evan Ingram is a top 5 fantasy tight end.
Yeah, he's going from one good situation in Jacksonville, so believe it or not, that was a bright spot there, to another. So I think that could kind of, especially because there's not really that many great tight ends in the league. So I think that could happen.
Would you rather Evan Ingram or, let's say, David Njoku with Cam Ward? Because we know any quarterback that's not Deshaun Watson, David Njoku is a whole different player.
I don't know, man. I have Njoku. So it's like I got him Njoku ranked 8 and Ingram ranked 9th. So it's like a coin flip for me.
Evan Ingram's definitely getting 100+ targets. Could not agree with you anymore, Jamie. I could see that, I mentioned the 114 receptions for him 2 years ago in a healthy season with Jacksonville. I could see him hitting that number again here in Denver with, it's just mostly him, Cortland Sutton, and the deep ball or the fun playmaker in Marvin Mims. So for me, I would take.
You love Marvin Mims so much.
I do.
Who do you love more, Marvin Mims or Treylon Burks? I'm not sure who you love.
Marvin Mims. Marvin Mims. The Treylon. I'm done. I'm sorry. I can't get in on Treylon Burks anymore. I can't put that hope and prayer out there anymore. Pretty much those hopes and prayers have been rejected, like Dikembe Mutombo, when it comes to
rest in peace.
Yeah, rest in peace for real. Just like Treylon's career.
Damn.
I mean, really, it's over for him. You've seen nothing.
I mean, one of them's really dead.
Yeah, true. Good point. Yeah, maybe that was a little. Yeah. Anyway,
maybe that should have been. Maybe that was just not today.
Yeah, maybe that could have just been my answer there. Last topic here we have for the news is something that you really wanted to talk about. The Colts are jonesing for Jones. Daniel Jones signs with the Indianapolis Colts 1 year, $16 million. A lot of that is incentive-based. I think I sent it to you. I don't even remember what it was exactly. A lot of broken down numbers that me and you will never understand or see in our lifetime. No. What do you think this means for Anthony Richardson?
I think AR-15, that AR-15's jammed, brother. I think it's jammed. I think Daniel Jones is going to give him some real competition, honestly. I'm not. I mean, I personally, but I mean, would be pissed if the Eagles sign a quarterback 1 year, $16 million. You know what I mean? Like, that's like a fucking big chunk of change, dude. It's not a backup number. It ain't what Taylor Heineke signed for 1 year, 6.5, in San Diego or in Los Angeles. So it's like, it's not a small number. They're bringing this in. I think this is a real competition. And I think Daniel Jones has a chance to I mean, look at it. You look at the Giants again. Anytime I can get a chance to talk about shit on an NFC East team, you look at the Giants. Like I just said, Evan Ingram leaves that shithole, goes to Jacksonville, thrives. Saquon leaves that shithole, comes to here, thrives. Is Daniel Jones the next one? I don't know, but like if if history repeats itself, he could be on track for that. And I don't think Anthony Richardson really has shown anything to be the number one, aside from his high draft stock and where they took him. He hasn't really showed that it's his job to lose. And I think they're bringing it in for an open competition. He lost his job to Joe Flacco. He's as old as my
Daniel
dad.
Jones lost his job to Tommy DeVito.
No.
Yeah. As
What?
Tama Tonga would say, yeah.
Okay.
Like,
I didn't know you were
lost his job to
related to
Tommy
the
DeVito.
guy, dude. You're okay. So Tommy DeVito was better.
No,
He played better. He played better. And that's what happened. Just like with Anthony Richardson, Joe Flacco, the same age as my fucking dad, beat out Anthony Richardson. That's what happened.
No, Anthony Richardson got hurt, and he also benched himself.
And then why Do you believe he benched himself? Is the craziest fucking thing.
They came out and said it.
Then you know what? Then you ain't a leader, dog. I'm out of breath. Are you fucking kidding me, dude? You're out of breath. What a fucking!
I get what you're saying, but you've also never had 350-pound dudes dragging off you.
Then don't fucking pay me how much millions of dollars to do it.
The fact that you think Daniel Jones is actual competition to Anthony Richardson's insane.
The 1 year and $16 million tells you that.
It's all incentives.
It doesn't matter. The money still tells you that. It wasn't a garbage like a fucking. Okay, so why would you take a former starter?
Because they
signed him over
they talked about signing
Heineke
somebody.
Of a name. Why wouldn't you just bring in? Why wouldn't you bring back a Flacco? Why wouldn't you bring in a Taylor Heineke? Why wouldn't you bring in a Marcus Mariota who was out there? Why wouldn't you bring in a guy or a fucking what's his nuts? Mullet dude that was here.
I don't know who this is.
Gardner Minshew. Why wouldn't you bring in a Minshew? Why wouldn't you bring a guy who's a career backup? Why wouldn't you bring in a career backup? So
they wanted to bring in somebody that was actual competition for Anthony Richardson. And
right.
You muted yourself. Yeah, thank God you muted yourself. I don't know how you did that, but anyway.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now. I don't think Anthony Richardson loses his job. He's allegedly working out with Josh Allen's trainers, which we've seen, because they both have very similar issues when they came into the league. It was mechanics. It was
some of them get tired. Some of them get tired and want to sit on the bench. It's the craziest story I ever heard. I'm tired, boss. I'm fucking tired, boss. Put me on the bench.
Daniel Jones lost his job to fake pasta sauce having Tommy DeVito. So I'm not worried about Daniel Jones touching Anthony Richardson's job. But, Rich, we need to get into our running back rankings here. We'll start with, as per usual, let's start with our honorable mentions, because you and I never remember to do that in the beginning. So who are your honorable mentions? Players
that's going to be more fucking shocking. It's going to give away the allure.
Give us your honorable mentions, because I always end up doing it mid-conversation. We're at like running back 6. And I'm like, oh, we need to talk about the honorable mentions.
All right, so how many you got?
I'm going to give you 3.
All right, same. All right, so 15, 14, 13. Honorable mentions. I got Christian McCaffrey at 15. Dun, dun, dun. I got James Cook at 14.
Oh, wow. That's lower than I expected. Go ahead.
And then I got Amarian Hampton at 13.
Okay. That's fair. Okay. You want to give us your I'll give you my honorable mentions first. 15, Chuba Hubbard, to me, is a guy who was running back 13 points per game last year. The obvious starter currently in Carolina. I think that I'd be happy with him as my running back 2/flex option in my fantasy lineups every single week. I'm actually going to give you, I'm going to actually give you my number 17, and that's going to be Derrick Henry is an honorable mention for me. Is he in your top 12? I mean, listen, I have no issue with that. He's just being 30 some odd years old, or 29 or 30
Yeah,
years old.
dude. They listen. The age thing got blown out last year.
It
Last
did.
season.
It did. We
I don't
talked
believe
about
it.
it.
I don't believe it.
He had second most rushing yards last year, first in per first down rushes, the most 20 plus yard rushes, second in 40 plus yard rushes, and had the second longest run in the league last year for a dude that's almost our age, which we are both 33 years old. Is impressive.
I'm 32, dog.
I think he's still got what you think 2 years left.
2 or 3. I mean, he takes really good care of his body, so
Yeah,
I
for
don't believe
sure.
anything about this. The myth of the running back when everything got blown out, like I said last year.
Mm-hmm. I'll give you my number 14 guy as well. That's going to be Travion Henderson, running back from Ohio State. Good pass catcher, elusive runner. Probably going to get second round capital, back in second round draft capital, in my opinion. There are people that say he could be a first round last pick, or 31 now because Kansas City, that's where they're picking. Which would be great, and I would maybe even bump him up slightly more. The biggest thing with him is the injury concerns, and it's going to be remains to be seen what happens to him in the NFL. But I like Travion Henderson a lot. He's my running back 3 of the class, so that should tell you that my running back 2 in the class is a little bit higher. But let's give us your 12 through 9, Rich.
All right, so 12 through 9er, I got Josh Jacobs at 12.
Okay.
Again, because age is just a number. Chase Brown at 11. I got Derrick Henry.
Okay.
I got Derrick Henry at 10.
Okay, I can't argue against it. We talked about it.
I got Kyron Williams at 9.
Okay, we have a kind of similar number of guys here. Give us a reason why for at least one or two of these guys.
Well, Derrick Henry obviously just went over, but Chase Brown looks like he's really kind of taken over the running back room, at least late in the season. Young guy, can run downfield. He's been working on his pass catching. It looks good. Kyron Williams always kind of was like, he'd always start the game with like a fumble, 2 fumbles, but he'll always end the game with like 30 points. So like that for me has him in my at least top 10 because he saved my ass a couple of times this season or last season.
Okay. All right, so let me give you my number 12. My number 12 is actually going to be that guy you just mentioned, in Kyron Williams. Finished as RB10 in points per game last year with 17. Doesn't have a whole bunch of pass catching upside. 5 fumbles last year is pretty concerning. He was 4th in the league amongst running backs. And the other thing you got to consider is the Rams seem to bring in a running back every single year. Kyron Williams was a late round pick. Zach Evans was a late round pick. It remains to be seen what they do. They could bring in a guy that, in those later rounds, like they've been doing, who ends up taking Kyron's job just because of the way Sean McVay runs that offense. My number 11, James Cook, RB 11, 16.7 yards, most rushing yards, which actually kind of surprised me in the league last year. I wasn't ready for that. Rushing TDs, not yards. I apologize. I was kind of surprised by that. But the biggest thing for him is he wants that payday, right? He wants that top money.
Sure does.
He wants.
I'm not sure he's getting it, but
yeah, we're not sure he's getting it. Does he get moved on? Does that hurt his value at all if he leaves Buffalo? Quite possibly. My number 10, Omarion Hampton. I am super excited for this guy. At worst, I think he's going to be an early 2nd round pick. I think he slides into late 1. A do-it-all type running back, does everything extremely well. Pass blocking, pass catching. People don't even talk about how good of an actual pass catcher he is. Over 30 yards or 30 receptions, over 300 yards receiving last year. This is a dude that is just going to beat you down. He's a 3-down back. I cannot wait to see Omarion Hampton in the NFL, and he could possibly be higher for me when we do this again. I got to see the draft capital first, and I got to see the landing spot, right?
Sure.
So that's going to be interesting. My number 9, big time my guy, Bucky Irving, running back 19 on the year, points per game 14.4. was ninth in missed tackles forced, fourth in yards per attempt at 5.4. I think this is Bucky Irving's running back room to lose. I am just, Rashad White's done. He's cooked.
Mm.
This is Bucky Irving's running back room, and that's why I'm excited to have him at number 9. What do you think about that? Anything that surprises you there? I mean, Amarian Hampton was outside your top 12. So
sure. And you have Bucky Irving a little lower than I have him.
oh wow.
Yeah, so we'll get to him, but yeah, that was we're in the same realm. We have the same kind of explanations. My 8 through 5 seems to be like at least 8, 7, and 6 are kind of guys that are tend to step on landmines, but are pretty valuable when they're in. And it's number 8 is Devin Achane. I really think, when he's in and when he's not hurt, he is explosive. He's the running back there. But, Miami always seems to sign a lot of running backs, bring a lot of guys in. But he does seem to eat every single, game. So, but he just has to stay on the field. A lot like my next guy, number 7, Jonathan Taylor.
Okay.
JT needs when he's out there, dude, he's got top 3 potential, but it's just he's got to stay healthy. And especially with whatever happens with QB1 Daniel Jones, I don't know what's going to happen there. Are they going to run the ball, or you know what I mean? And this is a guy. Number 6 is a guy that I kind of cringe at putting on there, but like I kind of feel like I was pressured in putting on there. Breece Hall. I was never high on him. Never seen the allure of a Breece Hall, but I do read the numbers and I'm like, he has potential. So he's on my list for potential. And number 5 is Bucky Irving. I think he has, from week 1 to the last week of the season, you see him progressively get better each and every game, and it's exciting to watch. Like you said, it's his room to lose. Rashad White stinks, and I think he kind of takes a huge leap next season.
Okay. We have a very similar group of guys here. My number 8 is actually going to be Josh Jacobs, RB8 in both points total and points per game at 17.2. 4th in rushing TDs, behind the 6th best offensive line in the NFL. So that's still going to continue. I don't know what they're doing at wide receiver. I mean, he called out his own wide receivers. So he's still the best option in that offense, in my opinion. Number 7, it actually kind of goes with what Jamie says here. Achane, why so low? He's my number 4 and never seen him lower than 5 or 6. And listen,
just because of the injury factor for me anyway.
So it's an injury factor for me as well. But let's talk about something else that's not talked about enough, in my opinion, when it comes to my number 7 running back, Devon Achane. Yes, he did finish RB6 at 17.6 points per game. But you also got to talk about Tua's health. In the games that Tua missed, you got to talk about the games that Tua missed, weeks 3, 4, 5, 7, 17, and 18. Here are the numbers for Devon Achane: 8.8, 5.9, 2.7, 10.5, 5.8, 18.10. When Tua is not in the lineup, Devon Achane is borderline, besides that 18-point game, either not startable or a flex option. And that concerns me because Tua hasn't been able to stay healthy. While we both like Tua, it's just something that we got to worry about when it comes to him. And that's my worry when it comes to Achane, is not only his own personal health, it's Tua's health, because the offense is not even the same without him. So those numbers scare me slightly when it comes to Achane. My number 6, Jonathan Taylor, 17.5 points per game last year, missed 3 games, still was a 1,400-yard rusher, which is insane. If he would have played a full season, he probably could have hit that 1,600-yard mark, which would have been crazy. Oh, good argument with Achane. Thank you, Jamie. Sometimes I have a good nugget in there every once in a while. Jonathan Taylor, my number 6 guy, missing games like you mentioned, still put up 1,400 yards rushing. Really started to come on towards the end. I believe averaged 141 yards per game in that last 5 games of the season. That tells me they need to feed that guy, feed Jonathan Taylor, run the damn ball. And that offense should run through him. My number 5 guy is Breece Hall. This was a really rough year for the Jets in general.
Yeah.
I'm still, a believer. I believe he can be a number 1 running back in fantasy. It's just.
Are you onto the allure of him? I'm really.
I think he's a very solid running back, and I still think
he's come into the league, and it's like he was already ranked in the top 5, and I'm like,
he got the decent.
He hasn't shown me anything, dude.
He's, last year, even in a rough season, he was RB 17 at 15.1 points a game, right? So that's solid numbers for a really bad season, just as a dreck of a season with the Jets. I think if the Jets team looked better, Breece Hall would look better. It'll be interesting to see what he looks like. Good.
Sorry, go ahead. Is this a case?
It'll be interesting to see what he looks like. We just told
you go. You go.
It'll be interesting to see what the Justin Fields dynamic does with Breece Hall.
Yeah.
What do you got to say?
Is this so? This Breece Hall and him being ranked this high? Is this a case of, which I'm always kind of weary of, but I put 2 guys, one on, of putting a rookie getting drafted that hasn't played in the NFL yet into your rankings? So is the reason why Breece Hall is so high is because he was on people's dynasty rankings coming out of college, and they're kind of afraid to take him off of it?
Back. He's been a productive back in his 2 years in the NFL now. We've been 2 years of Breece Hall. Let me pull up his year before stats. I didn't actually have that. 994 yards, 5 TDs in 3 years in the league. Wow. I forgot about that. I believe his rookie season, he was injured. 70% route participation. Yeah. For Breece Hall, which is actually extremely high for a running back. So that's, he does get a lot of pass catching targets. I actually forgot to even notate that down. But let's go 4 through 1 for you. Who do you got?
Okay. So as we just talked about, are we afraid? Is it a production or a product of putting a rookie on your list? I have Ashton Genty at my 4.
Yeah.
I kind of feel like you have to put him on there. Now, depending on the situation, I really, really think it'd be good for his career if he ends up with Las Vegas.
Surprising to say, because how many times have we ever said that good for their career if they go to Oakland or Vegas?
Just watching him, dude, he's going to be a playmaker. It's just he's an explosive back, and it just really depends because if he goes to Dallas, I think it does hurt his stock. I think he does fall from 4 down into the 5 through 8 range, just because of the offensive line there. So it's kind of you're taking a gamble putting him on there because you don't know where he's going to land. If he lands in the most ideal situation, that obviously great. But if he lands in a middling situation, where does that put him? What kind of career will he have? What kind of trajectory will he have? Number 3, I don't know if you're going to like it, but he's on your shirt. Bijan is my number 3. Just because I'm kind of intrigued to see what's going on with Penix, the way they kind of run their offense.
Mm-hmm.
He is, they have Algier there, but I mean, it is his running back room. But my most concern is with Michael Penix. What do they do with him? What kind of offense do they run? We don't know. We had a little piece of what they're going to do there with him. And also, what the fuck happens if Kirk Cousins comes back? Everything's so up in the air for him. Number 2, Jahmyr Gibbs. I never thought I'd kind of think that he's better than Bijan, but I think he might. I think he might be better. It's so fucking close. I just feel like Jahmyr Gibbs is slightly more explosive than Bijan is.
Well, yeah, it's different play style. Yeah,
sure. But that also equates to more points on my team. And number 1 is 2K, Mr. 2K, Saquon Barkley, baby. Last year showed I mean, last year shows you that the age is just a number, baby. He's going to be here for 4 more years. Unless you plan on winning in 5 years, and don't have him at one. But if you want to win in that time frame, I think he's number. Dude, it speaks for itself. His play spoke for itself. He had would have been a record-setting fucking year. I'm pissed that they didn't. I fucking so mad they didn't play him the last game. But yeah, dude, he's just been such a fun guy to watch, and he was a guy that I totally thought was on the other side of the hill. And because I play again a lot of redraft, and I'm laughing at a guy who took him at 1 overall in my league, and I'm like, look at this fucking idiot, and I'm like, not us, right? Not and he took off, dude. And I think until he proves me wrong, he sits atop.
Okay. I'm not mad at it. He's not far off for me. My
Okay.
number 4, very similar to yours, is Ashton Genty. He's
Okay.
as of right now, from mock drafts and stuff that you see, he's a top 10 NFL draft pick. That hit rate is usually extremely high, so to bet on that is usually a pretty good gamble, in my opinion. You can go back as far as just 2 years ago now. No, 2 years ago now with Bijan and Gibbs. We both have him in our top 4s, and both of those guys are taken in the top 12 NFL drafts. Like you mentioned, if he goes to Vegas with Pete Carroll, I'm going to be super excited with him and Chip Kelly. Like, it's crazy. We hated Chip Kelly here in Philadelphia, but as offensive coordinator, Chip Kelly might not be a bad option.
Don't be careful. You're gonna have Genty in the fucking Wildcat. He's gonna get -6 yards every fucking game.
Well, the good thing about Ashton Genty is it's not like the DeMarco Murray situation where he's running stretch plays to the outside when he should have been doing that. Genty can do that. So Genty at 4 for me feels like a pretty safe bet. My number 3 for me is your number 1. It's Saquon Barkley. Still having him in the top 3, I think for a lot of people is going to be completely high because he is 28 years old. A lot of tread on the tire, especially after a 2,000-yard season. But finished as RB1 last year in points per game, 22.2. Got a brand new contract here in Philadelphia. Even got some sort of extension. I forget exactly what it was. We talked about it last week or 2 weeks ago.
2 years. It's going to be so. It went from 2 to 4.
He has at least 1A or 1B offensive line in football right now. Second most rushes of 20-plus yards. First in rushes of 40-plus yards. Tied for third most in first down rushes. Saquon Barkley with this offensive line is just a demon. Saquon Barkley in general this is kind of what we've been hoping for since he came into the NFL, and it's finally taking place for him. So good on him, and I'm very excited.
That's what happens when you leave New York, dude.
My number 2 for me is Jahmyr Gibbs. RB2 points per game, 21.3. Fifth in rushing, first in rushing TDs, sixth in receptions, and third rushes of 20-plus yards or more. This is an electric runner. There is a little bit of hesitation for me when it comes to Jahmyr Gibbs with Ben Johnson out of the picture now. Is that offense going to be the same? Is David Montgomery going to get more touches? Are they going to go with the same outlook? Probably. But Jahmyr Gibbs, if you go back a few years ago when 2 years ago now, that me and you were both very excited about this guy. He gave me Jamal Charles vibes, and we're seeing it now as bright as day that he's a very similar runner to a Jamal Charles. Electric dude. The only fear for me is the size. He was healthy last year. Can't go against that, but it remains to be seen. My number 1, number 7 on my jersey.
Obviously.
He's going to be
in your heart.
Robinson, RB3 in both points per game and total finish, 20.1 points per game. I actually think this is an upgrade as a passer, and the receptions and yards are going to come from it for Bijan Robinson, both in the passing game for pass catches for him. And they're not going to be able to just stack the box kind of like they were able to with Kirk Cousins because Penix is a little bit more mobile at this point in his career. And the arm is a lot better than what we saw out of Kirk Cousins last year. Some stats on Bijan: third in rushing last year, third in receptions for the running back position, fifth in yards, second in missed tackles force. This dude, if he ever breaks a run over 40 yards, he's going to break fantasy. It just doesn't happen with him.
Mm-mm.
If you give him the ball 15 yards in for a touchdown, he's going to do it, and it's just going to be great. But I want those big plays from Bijan. It just hasn't happened yet. When
Sure.
it happens,
So what separates Bijan from Gibbs for you?
so there is no David Montgomery
Okay.
in Atlanta.
But Algier, did he rush for 1,000? Did he rush for 1,000 last year or the year before?
No, 2
Last
years
year.
ago. It was before
Okay.
Bijan came in the league. He was a 1,000-yard rusher.
And then they were like, well, you got okay.
Yeah, so that hasn't happened again. There is no David Montgomery. Bijan is playing in a system right now, like we just talked about. We don't know what the Detroit offense is going to look like without Ben Johnson, but we have a pretty good idea of what that Atlanta offense is going to look like with a former offensive mind as their offensive coordinator in Atlanta. So they're going to run the damn ball, and they have a guy in Bijan who could carry a full workload. Yeah, Algier's going to get his touches and probably even red zone touches because of the size that, Tyler Algier has and the ability to win those short yardage situations. But if I need a guy to get those stretch plays, even get those short yardage situations, it's going to be Bijan. He's so damn good at everything. It's just he gets to be able to break a play, he's going to be unstoppable. And this is a good offense, and this is an offense to start buying into with Penix. Last question here by Jamie. Would it surprise you if Hampton is just as valuable as Genty? Kind of like the Gibbs Bijan situation. 1,000%, in my opinion. Say, for instance,
It would surprise you?
No, it wouldn't surprise me. Sorry, it would. Okay, I should.
I was gonna say it wouldn't surprise me at all.
It wouldn't surprise me at all either. Could you imagine if Amari and Hampton goes to the Chicago Bears? Give Caleb Williams another weapon. First of all, he's taken that job from DeAndre Swift as an every down back in a heartbeat. I don't know if the Bears are going to take him.
And they just signed
early.
3 fucking brand new linemen, good linemen, traded for linemen.
Dude, they've had a really good offseason. I think in the right situation, we could see Amari and Hampton as the same value as Genty is right now. The second the draft happens and he gets a good landing spot in the first round, I would be more inclined to move him into my top 6 or 7. I just need to see it first. Because it kind of like, if you look at mock drafts all over the place, some have him in an early second. Some have him as a late first.
What? You're laughing at me, yawning?
He said Bears already have an elite running back, Roshan Johnson. I don't. He's good. Not even on the same level as Amari and Hampton. I do like Roshan, but it just remains to be seen what kind of draft capital Amari and Hampton gets. Any last thoughts or tidbits you got before we left?
No, I'm just kind of going with the flow of free agency. No big trades. I mean, defensive wise, I'm still waiting for Hendrickson to get moved, but I mean, everything else, no. I'm just kind of waiting and seeing. I guess we got a little over a month for the draft.
A month and actually, a month and like a week or something like that.
Who's counting?
We are, because Rich and I, we should actually probably announce this, are going to go live for the first round of the NFL draft. We're going to be on from start to finish. We're going to probably have some pizza. Maybe even Rich and I will do this as one together in the same household or something like that. We'll have to figure out the logistics of it. But we are going to have some.
We tried that one time, and the microphones just echoed off each other. So
maybe, since we're on a big boy podcast network now, maybe we can figure this out and be actual professional podcasters. But Rich and I are going to have guests for that live draft episode. Super excited for that. We'll announce those as we get more solidified lineup for you guys. We're super excited for the live draft episode. Super excited for what things to come next week. We are going to be doing a rookie mock draft, a Dynasty rookie mock draft. We're going to do that. Rich and I will set that up. We'll get that out to you guys and hopefully have some of our listeners in that draft and draft against you guys. But that will be it for the Dynasty Dogs. I appreciate everyone who's watched. I appreciate Jamie for 41 days, giving us a lot of tidbits that I was not expecting. So I really do appreciate that, to be honest with you. And again, I appreciate all our listeners, followers, everything like that. So we be on the lookout for our mock draft next week. And for the Dynasty Dogs, on behalf of Fantasy Football Universe, we will see you guys next time.
Peace.